Hi there and welcome to another podcast episode. My name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. And on today's agenda, I am wrapping up spring with my last two projects that are finally done and ready to wear. And I'm already in summer mode with a new cast on to celebrate the arrival of the new season. On top of all of that, I also have a gift that I got that I wanted to share with you for a new hobby, maybe, that I may or may not be dipping my toes into, and I am having a lot of fun with it. But let's start with the first finished object, and this is my new cardigan. This is the Frost Lines cardigan by Andrea Mowry, and I knit it out of 3 different colorways of the Rerum Natura Gilliatt. I chose this Granit colorway as my main color, this almost dark gray that I really liked, and I paired with 2 different contrast colors. Obviously I chose this dark red maroon color called Amarante, and also I don't even know how to pronounce this. The name means clay. So this was my color combo for this cardigan, and I really liked these colorways together. I think I said that many times now, but I really enjoyed knitting with this yarn. It was my first time trying this out, and I plan on using it for other projects in the future. But talking about the new cardigan, I think this is a perfect cardigan. I had so much fun knitting it. This has stripes, it's a raglan construction, has double knit button bands, so this has everything I love in just one cardigan. But last time I showed you guys this project, I still had both sleeves left to knit and the button band, so now everything is done, blocked and ready to wear. Talking about the sleeves first, let me just turn this to the side a little bit so you can see the sleeves a little bit better. It was my first time knitting in the round for this project, and managing all 3 colorways at the same time required organization skills, I would say. I didn't want to break my yarn every time I switched colors, so I carried all my yarns on the sides here where the beginning of round is, and it required a little bit of yarn management to make sure my strands didn't get tangled every couple of rows. But everything worked out just fine in the end. It wasn't really that big of a deal, it just required a little bit of finagling to make sure everything stayed in place. And the only modification I made to the sleeves was the decrease rate. When I was around here on the sleeves, I felt like the fit was going to be maybe a little bit snug, or not really snug, but I wouldn't have as much room around my arm as I wanted, and I decided to delay starting the decreases. So I skipped the first 2 decreases and then I followed the pattern all the way to the end of the sleeves. Now the sleeves are a little bit roomier than I imagined, but I think everything looks cohesive, so it doesn't really bother me now. When I picked up stitches for the sleeves, I was a little bit worried about how I would achieve jogless stripes, because these 2 contrast colors are just 1 row stripes, and I didn't know how to get that jogless effect with just 1 row stripes. But the pattern actually includes a little suggestion on how to get that look, and I just followed the pattern's recommendation, and I think everything looks just fine. What she has you do is every second round of this, in my case, gray stripe, you just lift 1 leg of the stitch below and knit it together with the first stitch on the second round of this gray stripe, and this is what I got in the end. Maybe I can show you guys up close. I think it looks just fine. I'm not seeing any jog when I switched colors, so that made me really happy. It's a kind of detail that really makes or breaks a project for me, so I'm really glad I have jogless stripes now. But talking about the button band, There was a little bit of drama in the beginning because the first step was to pick up stitches around the entire front for the button band, right? And I just followed the pickup rate recommended in the pattern. So for both fronts I picked up 5 every 7 stitches, and just around the neck I picked up every single stitch. Then I cast on stitches for the button band using an Italian cast on, but when I got around here maybe, I could see that my row gauge was completely different than the fabric on the body, and it looked like a mess. There's no way around it. The fabric on the body was bunching up like crazy, and I didn't really know what to do. I thought about ripping back the entire button band and maybe changing my pickup rate or switching my needle size. But before I decided on any drastic solution, I noticed that if I just pulled my button band like so, everything looked just fine. And I remembered that when I did a mid-project block on the body, this fabric relaxed quite a bit and the yarn really bloomed with a good soak. So I decided to do the same thing here, but just block the button band to see if the fabric would relax and if this bunching up issue would block out. How would I just block the button band? So I decided to use a tray that we have here around our house. It's a metal tray and I filled it with water and just dipped the button band into the water and carried on with my day. Half an hour later, when I came back, the sweater had absorbed all the water in the tray. There was a puddle around my kitchen. The floor was a mess. Everything was wet. So I don't recommend. It was such a mess to rinse the water out of the sweater. I didn't want to use try-it-on tubing because it was just a button band, right? So I left all my picked up stitches on the needles. My needles were completely wet. It was a mess. But everything worked out, and in the end I found out that the button band would actually relax and this bunching up issue would block out just fine. So I carried on with my double knit button band, and this is the final look I have now. I can't really get this sweater to stay flush with the hem. I don't know why. Here, can you see? Yeah. But when I'm wearing this, it looks really nice. So I don't know what's happening here. I have an idea, because if we look at the neck here, this V-neck shape is really narrow. This is something I've noticed when I took this off my blocking mats, and there isn't much room for my neck. But I still get a comfortable fit, so I don't think that's really an issue. But if I show you the back, I guess maybe if I do it like this, I guess you can see that the button band here on the neck, it sits pretty high. It's almost vertical, maybe, yeah, now you can see. It sits pretty high, so there isn't much room for my neck now that a button band is in. So I guess that's why it pulls the entire button band. It bothers me a little bit, but the fit is fine. So I'm thinking about maybe soaking this button band again so that I can pull it and make it flush with the hem. Maybe, I don't know, it's something that's been crossing my mind. I don't know if I'll get to that or not. The only thing that I modified when I was working on the button band was the buttonholes, because the pattern has you do that method where you break the yarn and attach it again to knit the second half of each buttonhole, and I didn't want to do that. So I followed PetiteKnit's method on how to knit buttonholes without breaking the yarn. So this is the final look of my buttonholes. Maybe you can see it like this. They look really nice and I'm really satisfied. I also followed a PetiteKnit tip on how to attach the buttons so they don't sit flush with the button band. You can see they sit a little bit higher, and that creates room to accommodate the other half of my button band when the buttons are closed. So I really like that little detail. So the button band doesn't stretch around the buttons here, and I think everything looks just a little bit more polished. When I was attaching the buttons, I decided to follow an idea from a lovely viewer, and I used a contrast color to, well, attach the buttons. I decided to go with the dark color because I think if I went with the pink one, I would get maybe too high of a contrast here. So I decided to go with this dark wine color, and I think it looks really nice. So thank you so much for this idea. Now, since this is a finished object, let's talk about how much yarn I've used and the cost of this project. So I have my notebook here with me. And talking about yarn amounts, first, I've used 334 grams of my main yarn, this Granit colorway, the gray one. The pattern calls for 350 grams, so it sounds about right to use a little bit less than what the pattern calls for. Patterns usually include a 10% or so buffer, so everything is fine. And when it comes to my both contrasting colors, I've used 55 grams of each one. The pattern calls for 60 grams each, so again, everything is according to plan. Now, talking about cost, I've paid for the yarn, which cost me 66 euros and 93 cents. I'm only talking about how much yarn I've used to knit up my frost lines. I still have leftovers, but the cost of my leftovers will go to another project. And I've also paid for the pattern, which cost me 9 euros and 52 cents. So in total, this project cost me 76 euros and 45 cents. And I think I'm really happy with this price point. I see this as my perfect cardigan, at least for now. So I think I'm going to wear this a lot. And one added bonus is that since this V-neck shape is not really that wide and not really that deep, I think I can get away with wearing this without any other layers underneath. So if I close all 4 buttons, I think everything will be fine. I don't think there will be much cleavage, which means I'll have more opportunities to wear this cardigan, and that makes me really, really happy. So now, enough about this cardigan, and let's talk about my mom's polo. This is the Petra Polo by PetiteKnit, and I used stash yarn for this project. I had a cone of Holst Garn Supersoft in the colorway Sage Blue. I was expecting to finish this cone and not have any leftovers, but well, I wasn't so lucky, and I still have around 20 grams or so in here, but that's a problem for future me. And I paired it with 1 strand of lace weight alpaca. This is Filcolana Alva in the colorway 368 Eucalyptus. So this was my color combo for my mom's polo, and I am really happy with the marled effect these 2 colorways created. But let's talk about the buttons first, because it was a whole thing. So last time I showed you guys this project, I was debating between 3 button options. I had one in a mocha color, a gray one just like my Frost Lines cardigan, and a third option which was a dark brown, just basic button. I was asking for you guys suggestions, and I think you guys were leaning towards the gray buttons or maybe the mocha ones, which was also my preference. And my mom doesn't really watch my videos, but this time around, unlucky me, I guess, she decided to watch it, and she saw that I was asking for opinions on the buttons, and she not so subtly said that she wanted the dark brown buttons. So that's what she's getting. Dark brown buttons. If you were me, I would have gone with the mocha buttons probably, or maybe the gray ones, but I think I prefer the mocha ones. But anyway, it's the buttons she wanted, so it's what I did. I still think they look good, There is a lot of contrast between the fabric, this green fabric, and the buttons, but I don't think it threw anything off balance. I still think it looks really nice. I blocked this so that she can wear this comfortably because I think Holst Garn Supersoft is really rough next to skin before a good soak, so I blocked this as many times as I possibly could during the entire process of making this polo. But I think it looks really nice now. When I tried this on, because I wanted to see how it felt next to skin, I didn't really have any issues, so I'm hoping she won't have any problems wearing this without anything underneath. When it comes to the sleeves though, I did change the decrease rate. I delayed starting the decreases like 10 or 12 centimeters, so I skipped quite a few decreases right under the arm because my mom really likes her clothes to fit like really oversized, so I was worried the intended fit for the sleeves would end up being too snug for her liking. In the end, I only did 8 decrease rounds and I spaced them out every 11th round. I did a decrease row. So this is the final look of the sleeves. It's much wider than the pattern photos, I guess, but I think it looks really nice and I think she's going to like it, which is what matters. When I started the second sleeve, I was worried that I was playing yarn chicken because it's really scary to see this giant cone getting smaller and smaller after every round, and I was still around here, so I still had basically an entire sleeve left to knit. But as you can see, yeah, I wasn't really playing yarn chicken at all. I still have around 20 or so grams left in here. No idea what I'm going to do with this leftover. I don't really want to buy more. So I don't know. I don't want to look at it now. I don't want to think about this now. This is a problem for future me. Once this project was done and I did a final block, the body actually grew a lot width-wise. Not really lengthwise, but in width I got maybe 10 or so extra centimeters, which really came in handy because my mom felt like it was maybe too snug on her. Not really that snug, but it wasn't as oversized as she intended. So right now I think the fit is going to be spot on. I'm so excited to finally gift her this finished object. I don't think she's going to wear it anytime soon because this is probably too warm for summer. But we've been getting some chilly days this week, and maybe I get lucky and there's another chilly day anytime next week and she can wear this just one day, one time, so she can check the fit and how comfy it is and everything. So I'm really excited. Now, since this is a finished object, it's time to talk about how much yarn I've used and the cost of my project. I've used 267 grams of this Holst Garn Supersoft paired with 189 grams of my lace weight alpaca, which was Filcolana Alva. Now I realized that I forgot to write down how much the pattern calls for, so it will be on the screen for you guys to check it out. But this is what I've used, and now talking about cost, I didn't really pay for this cone of Holst Garn Supersoft because my mom gifted me this cone from her stash. So I only paid for Filcolana Alva, which cost me 27 €96. But had I paid for the cone as well, this yarn would have cost me 45 € and 54 cents. But I did pay for the pattern, which cost me 6 € and 98 cents. So in total, the final cost of this polo was 34 € and 94 cents. I'm pretty happy with the price point of this, though keep in mind I didn't really pay for the main yarn. I still think she's going to wear this a lot and I am really excited to gift her this, like I said many times now. But this is my mom's polo. And now let's talk about my new projects. I have a lace sweater on my needles and I can't wait to show it to you guys. So what I have here is the Madeleine Sweater by Knitting for Olive. Let me get everything situated because I have a few different things to show you. So the yarn I'm using for this project is a new to me yarn, but I think this is a pretty well-known yarn. I am using Drops Belle, which is a summer blend of sorts. This yarn is, well, let me show you the label in case you want to check it out. This yarn is a cotton, viscose and linen blend. It's 53% cotton, 33% viscose and 14% linen. This is colorway 3. I think the name is light beige or something like that. I had this yarn in my stash, but I had other plans for it when I purchased this yarn, but I decided to change my plans and now this will be a Madeleine sweater. Let me show you what I have so far. This is a bottom-up construction, so I've cast on stitches for the body and I'm just, well, there isn't much to see right now. I'm just, 15 or so rows into this project or rounds. So you can't really see, but maybe if I stretch it like this. This is an all-over lace design with a few sections of garter stitch, I guess. And you can barely see the lace coming together, but I think I'm going to love the final look of this sweater. I am so excited. I did swatch for this project. I usually swatch for all my projects, but especially with lace garments, I find that really important to get a better idea of my gauge and everything. So this was my swatch. I think now you can really see the lace motif. It looks really nice. I really liked it. I used the recommended needle size for this swatch, a 4.5 millimeter, but I didn't really like how open the lace looked. I mean, the holes look really big, don't they? I don't know. I wasn't really sold on this open fabric, so I decided to size down my needles to a 4 millimeter, and it's the needle size I used to cast on the body. Maybe I can do a little comparison showing you both fabrics side by side. I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'll try. Like this, yeah. The top one is with a 4 millimeter and my swatch was knitted using a 4.5. Now, I have to keep in mind that my swatch has been blocked and my project has not yet. So I don't know how this is going to affect my gauge. But when I blocked my swatch, I almost abandoned this entire project because this yarn, when wet, it's yellow. I wish I had taken a picture of it to show you guys, but it really looked yellow and not a light beige at all. And it wasn't even a pretty yellow. It's like that really old bed sheet that once upon a time it was white and now it's that really yellowy old thing that doesn't really look white anymore but isn't really yellow. Yeah, it was exactly that, so it looked terrible. I was afraid that it wouldn't come back to its original light beige color, but in the end it did, so I guess I was just, well, exaggerating a bit. I still don't know if this color really suits me, but I think everything's going to be just fine. This is a lace sweater. Maybe I can choose a darker color for this second layer so that I have more contrast. It's just an idea. For now, I am pretty happy with the look of my Madeleine sweater. Now, one thing that I have to mention about this pattern is that it is a lot. When I first opened the PDF, I felt really overwhelmed because this pattern includes like 18 pages full of charts. So there are a lot of charts going, and at least for the size I'm knitting, I didn't like the way the charts are displayed because they run over multiple pages. I mean, a chart begins in one page and extends to the next page, but the pages are not numbered, so if you don't keep track of everything, you get lost and you will start in one chart and finish in another entirely different chart. So I had to cut my charts out and tape them together to reduce the chances of making any mistakes. And since this is all overlays, I'm not really confident that I can fix mistakes as I go. So yeah, it took a while to figure everything out, and now everything is fine, but yeah, I didn't really like that side of the pattern. I know this will take me forever, but at least so far the charts are actually pretty easy to follow, so I'm a little bit more confident that I can make my Madeleine sweater work. But now, enough about the sweater, and let me talk about a gift that I got. And it is, oh, many of you are going to laugh at me. I was gifted this mini sewing machine. This is like a kid's size sewing machine. And let me tell you the whole story behind this. So a few episodes ago I mentioned that I was thinking about maybe getting myself a sewing machine because I think I will like to eventually sew my own clothes one day. And I commented that with a friend of mine. So another friend of hers had purchased this mini sewing machine, hoping to get into sewing someday. She never took it out of the box, so she gifted it to my friend, who never took it out of the box either, and then she gifted me the mini sewing machine, and well, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Don't get me wrong, I don't have high expectations when it comes to this machine. My idea with this mini sewing machine is just to see if I like sewing or not, because I don't think I can really make anything like really big or really ambitious with this machine, but I think it's enough to tell me if I hate sewing or not. So I decided to give this a try, and I sewed my first project here. Already sounds really ambitious just say my first project, but anyway, let me show you what I made. So I decided to make a knitting needle case. This sounds so ridiculous, but that's okay. So I made this, and it looks really terrible, I know, but keep in mind I have absolutely zero experience with sewing. So this was all me figuring it out alone with the help of the user's manual. I didn't really watch any YouTube videos because I felt, well, it was going to be too much for this mini sewing machine. And well, I had a lot of fun. Moral of the story, I think I like sewing, but it's definitely too soon to make any determinations. I didn't really want to purchase anything specific for sewing, like fabric, scissors, rulers, or anything like that, because this machine, I don't think I can really make anything big, and I don't think I can sew clothes using this machine. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, you guys could tell me, but I felt like a needle case was a good starting point. Size isn't really that important, and I had a really old lab coat of mine here at home, so I decided to repurpose that, cut a few pieces of the fabric and made this. But let's be honest, this looks like it came straight out of a hospital's gift shop. with this white cotton. Yeah, it doesn't really look nice. I even tried to spice things up a bit using this red thread that I had lying around, but I don't think it made much of a difference. The other side is just plain white. My original idea was to add a flap here so that I could close this case, but I lost my patience because this machine is, well, it couldn't really handle that many layers of fabric, but I still think, I think it's decent enough. I've been using it because although it isn't really that pretty, it is very practical, and my needles just live inside a drawer next to my knitting chair, so I think it will work. It will serve its purpose. I just wanted to share with you because, well, it is sort of knitting related. Is it pretty? No. Is it functional? Yes. So I think it's fine for a first sewing project. I don't know if I will sew anything else using this mini machine, but maybe I will. I don't know. I'm just having fun. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I'll enjoy sewing before I commit to a real machine, a big machine, and an expensive machine as well. But I think that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending some time with me. If you have thoughts on my knitting needle case, I would love to hear. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, and to leave a comment down below. I always appreciate having you guys around here. I'll see you next week with a fresh new video, and until then, happy knitting. Bye!